Hello YouTube, this is the Omnitron12345 coming at you with my review of The Amazing Spider-Man. Now, let me tell you right off, this movie is the Batman Begins of Spider-Man movies. Sorry about that, I'm kind of getting over a bad cough. Anyway, now I'm going to start right off talking about how they portrayed Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield is Peter Parker. Tobey Maguire, really, it did not take long for me to replace him, in my view, of how a movie Spider-Man should be compared to Tobey Maguire's. There is no contest between the two. Andrew Garfield is the superior Spider-Man. Now, I'm not saying Tobey Maguire is a bad actor. I am not saying that at all. But he just isn't a good Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield is. So, I already got that out of the way. Now, what about this movie is it delves into, like, things that the original trilogy did not. First off, the original trilogy, why was he living with his aunt and uncle? I mean, those who know the comics probably already know they died in a plane crash. Well, we never get that in the original trilogy. In this, yes, they give the reason. I'm not going to spoil it, but those who know the comics, again, they'll be able to figure it out. Now, and they show Peter Parker as you know, he's the nerd, he's the guy no one really likes. I mean, there was even a part where a girl asked him to come over to her house so he could take pictures of her boyfriend's car. Yeah, started out like she was asking him out on a date. Then it just does a whole total 180. Yeah, so you know, you can kind of feel for the guy a little on that. Anyway, you know, they just portray him as a lovable loser, which is how Peter Parker should be. You know? In Sam Raimi's version, he was just a loser. You know? Now in this movie, they actually build up his relationship with Aunt May and Uncle Ben. They really do. It's not just Uncle Ben; it's Aunt May. Too. They show him, like, you know, they just get the characters so well. Now again, I'm real sorry. Anyway, they just get the characters into just. This was like watching a comic book, really. It didn't feel like a comic book movie, but it doesn't feel like a comic book movie until we actually see him, like, in the costume. Let me put it like that. Up until that, I mean, and another thing, you will not be bored while waiting for him to get the costume and start swinging on webs. You will not be bored. I guarantee you that. The story is that good where there were points where I was never just on edge waiting for him to get the suit, to get on the suit and start fighting crime. I was never just anxious for that. I knew it was coming, but I was just enjoying the ride. I was just enjoying the story as it went along, as it was unfolding. That hardly ever happens in some superhero movies for me. I mean, yes, I know they have to get the origin out of the way. I understand that. But there are some movies where I'm just like, oh, come on, when are we going to see it? I'm not going to point fingers, but, okay, the first, the 2003 Hulk movie, yes, that was one of those movies where I was like that. Green Lantern, I mean, I like Green Lantern. I think it was okay. Contrary to one of the reviews, after I saw it again, I was like, yeah, okay, they could have done better with this. But anyway, okay, enough about all that. Like I was saying, now when he does actually, Uncle Ben does die in this. He does die in this. course, then again, that's kind of expected because in any Spider-Man story, for Peter Parker to become Spider-Man, Uncle Ben has to die. That's just that is a requirement. But the thing with this is, you actually feel it. Okay, it actually has an impact because you spend like maybe 2-3 scenes with his Uncle Ben and like that's it, and that's sort of how they do it in this. But you get a feeling of just how much Peter cares for his uncle. You get that feeling. And the other one, it didn't. At least for me, I didn't really get that feeling. In this, trust me, this death scene of Uncle Ben is beautifully done. It is just a work of art. It actually got me tearing up a little. Let me be honest with you. It got me tearing up just a little. And so did and I could all around the theater. I could tell some other people like just having the same thing happening to them. Now, also even how he comes across like how he makes the costume is extremely believable. He doesn't just throw on the costume like, hey, maybe I need a costume. Yeah. He actually, it's a build up to the costume. First, he's looking for a guy that killed his uncle. And just he's not even wearing a mask. Then he wears the mask. Then he gets the idea that okay, if he's gonna be swinging around and moving fast, he needs to move faster. He needs a sleeker body kind of suit. So he makes the costume. It's practically done. It's believable for him to make the costume in this. It's not just, hey, I'm a superhero, I need the costume. No, it makes sense, and the way they portray him making coming to the conclusion that he needs a costume, it comes to that. It's like a natural progression. He would need this. Again, and unlike the original Sam Raimi version, it actually shows him making the costume. Whereas compared to the Sam Raimi version, where okay, at first he can't even make a decent wrestling costume, then all of a sudden he's in this suit that looks like it cost $20,000. This, I would say, looked like it cost a lot, but not to the overly extreme that the original Spider-Man movie suit looked like. Excuse me, sorry. Now, on to the villain, Dr. Kirk Connors, aka the Lizard. Now, it actually was an okay, thing in this. I actually enjoyed the Lizard in this. I heard a couple of people complaining that they didn't like how he was done. I actually liked it. It had a more sinister feel to it, than I was expecting. They kind of portray it as he has after he takes the Lizard serum, it starts to affect his mind to the point where he's hearing voices in his head, saying, yes, we have to do this, no, you have to do that, you're weak, kind of like the Lizard talking to him in his head. It's not so. They made it to where no one would compare it to the Hulk, basically, where he gets mad, he turns into the Lizard, and sometimes in the comics that has happened. Sorry. Sometimes in the comics that has happened where Kirk Connors does get angry and he does turn into the Lizard. But in this, he's actually more of he's more of a supervillain than he is he's not the mindless kind of raw, I'm going to eat you Lizard that you sometimes see in the comics. So he's a thinking villain, and the execution of his plan seems a bit simplistic. I will admit his plan does seem a bit simplistic, but then again, you are dealing with a man that hears voices in his head and turns into a giant lizard. So while it does, it doesn't really Okay, yeah, you know what, forget it. I can't get around this without spoiling it, so I'm not going to give you what the plan is. So I'm just going to skip past that because I honestly can't think of a way to describe how his plan is without spoiling anything. Emma Stone was wonderful as Gwen Stacy. She also, in this movie, she does, surprisingly, this is, also, you'll be happy to know that, surprisingly, this is the first Spider-Man movie where his girlfriend does not get kidnapped. Yes, and she actually helps she plays a part in stopping the Lizard's plan. What did Mary Jane do in the original Spider-Man trilogy? Oh yes, scream and get kidnapped. I mean, sorry, I'm just a little touchy. I mean, come on, even the most die-hard fan of Sam Raimi's original trilogy has to admit it was very formulaic. Mary Jane gets kidnapped, screams a lot, Spider-Man has to save her, every movie. And this, Gwen actually showed that they actually show that Gwen is a strong character, a strong, intelligent character, and she can take care of herself. I mean, granted, Spider-Man does have to come in, but he never acts, and she actually even tries to help him fight the Lizard at one point in the movie. I'm not going to spoil how or when or where, but the point is, unlike Mary Jane, she actually tries to help him. And, like I said, she actually does help stop the Lizard's play a part in stopping the Lizard's plan. And the movie ends with a spectacular, yes, pun intended, Spider-Man swing scene, swinging scene, which I have to admit, now I saw this in 3D, and now I'll admit, I don't usually go to see 3D movies, but when I do, I try to, first, the few I have, some of them just, the 3D just doesn't work. I don't see why this movie had to be in 3D. But, The Amazing Spider-Man, this movie actually, 3D works in this movie. 3D, the swinging parts, things like that, where he's swinging, it works. It adds something. Now there are some points where, you want to take the glasses off. But when he's in the suit, I highly recommend, if you see this in 3D, I highly recommend when you see him in the suit, put the glasses back on, because you are going to, it was just amazing. Yeah, again, pun intended. I did not. Now they said they were going to build up who the villain is for the next movie. Now they made reference to Norman Osborn a couple of times. I don't think it's going to be Norman Osborn. I honestly don't. sorry again, bad cough. Yeah, I honestly don't believe it's going to be Norman Osborn. It's too soon. I honestly think it is too soon to bring him into the movie, into this new universe. They didn't even show him. They showed a poster thing where it's kind of like of him, supposedly him, where it's kind of shadowed, but they did not actually show him. They said the name, and there are quite a few scenes in Oscorp, but you never actually see him. There is a plot point that might reference him, that might lead into something more later on, but I'm not going to spoil this. I'm not going to spoil it. You'll just have to see the movie for yourself. I heard there was a after credits thing. I didn't actually stick around, because, since this is not in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like the Avengers, and like Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Thor, Captain America, the Avengers, those movies, I didn't necessarily think there was going to be, so I kind of missed out on that. I got home, I looked around to find out there was a after credits scene. No one's posted it yet, at least at the time of this video, this review. But supposedly it does kind of tease the next villain. I haven't heard anything about that yet, so I'm not going to make any. So I can't even make any conjecture on or speculation on what what the villain will be, who the villain will be. Personally, for the next one, I would actually like to see Electro. I would very much like to see Electro. And if not Electro, someone that can. I don't want to see any like retreading of old villains. The only old villain from the original trilogy I would like to see is either a Venom or Green Goblin. I want honestly, Venom or Green Goblin are the only villains from the past movies I would actually like to see. But now, as far as Green Goblin goes, I really want them to wait for him for the third movie. Now, if you're watching this video, there's a strong, you know who Gwen Stacy is. You know, and if you know your comics, you know that she is, well, known for dying and staying dead. And who killed her? The Green Goblin. And, in fact, the bridge scene in their first Spider-Man movie where the Goblin was holding Mary Jane over and dropping her, that was actually how Gwen Stacy died. The Green Goblin threw her off the Brooklyn Bridge, and Spider-Man shot a web line down, caught her, but when he pulled her up, she was dead, and that's possibly the cruelest thing and the Green Goblin ever did to Spider-Man. Actually, it is the cruelest thing the Green Goblin ever did to Spider-Man or any villain, because when he pulled her up, she was dead, and he didn't know whether the Green Goblin already killed her or if the shock, just like the jolt from his web line, snapped her neck or something. He didn't know. So, I think... Now, I'm not saying they should kill Gwen off in this movie series, but the fact that they have her in here, and the fact that they made a few references to Norman Osborn in this movie, have me wondering if she'll survive. I definitely think she'll be in the movie. I definitely don't think she'll die in the second movie. But if they get around to the third movie, I honestly think, things are not going to look very good for her. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I really liked her in this. And I really hope they don't, if they do kill her off, they don't do it in the second movie. I think it would come as a greater, because we'll have had two movies to really get attached to her, really like her. It would become as great shock if they did it in the third movie. Well, not really shock so much as, it would have a bigger impact, basically. So, this has been the Omnitron 12345, Spike Lee Mason Spider-Man, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 stars. There we go. 50,000 out of... well, anyway, great movie. Highest score I can possibly give it. There you go. This has been Omnitron 12345, signing off.